Welcome back, crew. Today we are diving into the Coyote and Crow system once again, with it being our May game of the month, and we're going to go through how to build a Coyote and Crow PC. So we're going to go step by step, show you a little bit of the book, how their instructions for it, and at the end we're going to come out with a character sheet you could roll up at a table with and be good to play with. So join us for that. But before we dive into it, Coyote and Crow is our May game of the month. What that means is throughout the month of May, we're going to be doing different videos focusing on this system. We've already done our first impressions. Today we're building a PC. Next week we're going to dive into mechanics. And we're going to cap it all off too on May 31st with a live actual play game on my channel, Tegan J Gaming. Find the link down in the description, where me and some of my crew are going to go through and play the system out. We're going to run the encounter at Station 54, so the encounter right in the book, using one of their pre-generated one-shots. And you get to see the system live in effect, get to see how it plays out, see how my crew and I roll with it. This is all of our first times trying it out, so you get to see some of the good and the bad, the hiccups, and all between as we learn a new system. So come check it out. But if you don't want to even just see the system played, which it's a fun system so far, so definitely come see it played. But one of the big things we're doing, because part of our mission with Tegan J Gaming is to get more people into new systems. So we're going to be giving out a copy of the PDF to one of our fans in attendance on the live stream. So May 31st, 7 p.m. at Tegan J Gaming. Come, drop a follow if you have it, but come and make sure you enter the raffle during the game. And sometime, we're not going to say when throughout the game, so stay with us, because if you're not there anymore, you won't get to win. We'll get a raffle off that PDF, and we'll get that over to one of the lucky fans. So come, hope you're lucky, and get to try out this amazing system and bring it back to your crew. But today, our big purpose is making a new PC. I've said this before, the Power Rangers RPG, but I found that the best way to learn a new system as a player or a DM or a GM, or storyteller in this case, is to go through and make a PC, whether you're going to play them or not. It just allows you to see what the system values. It helps you answer questions for your character, or your players as they build their characters. It just gives you a lot of background that you may otherwise miss. So any new time I pick up a new system, I build a PC. So that's where we're always going to kick off our game of the month with, is building a PC, so we get to learn a little bit more about the system and see what it values. So the system has pretty cool step-by-step instructions for build a PC. We're going to kind of go in slightly reversed order, though. They have picking the name last, and I struggle with that. I have to have a name first. So we're going to go pick a name, but the way we're going to do that is we're actually going to go, so they've got this really cool resource on the Coyote and Crow website. You should be able to see that now, where it allows you to generate a Chahi name. And Chahi is kind of the fictional language they've developed for this world that's kind of a mixture of indigenous languages and kind of has roots within them, but it is kind of made up for this system. So we're going to generate that Chahi name, and we're going to see what it will come up with. So whatever comes up on this is what we're rolling with. All right, so I may butcher this, but our PC's name is going to be Thoohipina. Thoohipina. That's what we're going with. I wish that. So one request I would have is that they could put a little voice thing to it, which would be hard. It'd be a lot of extra work for them. But I'd love to hear it pronounced just to make sure I'm doing it justice. But for today, we're going with Thoohipina. So let me copy that, and we're going to go to our character sheet. So you're going to see a transition to the Coyote and Crow character sheet, which right from that website that I showed earlier, you can go in and download that for free. We're going to copy and paste this in here. Thoohipina. So you'll see with all of our game of the month, we're going to build a PC. Depending on kind of how we're going to be running the game, it may be in a different format. So with Power Rangers, we're running that on Roll20. We did the Roll20 character build. This system is on Foundry. I've got Foundry, but I'm not the most confident with Foundry. So we're going to be running this a little old school. My character's going to be rolling real dice, and we're going to be running it off their character sheets, or digital character sheets. So that's how we're running with this one. That's why we're building in using the PDF format for it. Sweet. So we've got that in there. So we got Thoohipina. We've got our name in. So now that we've got our name in, let's go to the actual book for the Coyote and Crow system. You see, I've got a copy behind me, but I also bought a PDF too. And we're going to go through and take a look at the step-by-step instructions they give for building out your PC. So you'll see they got the cool artwork on that side, but now we're going to jump over to creating a character. So next thing with the Coyote and Crow is they've got a great set of step-by-step instructions on how to build your PC. So as you see, they've got 14 steps all there. They've got the name last. We skipped that a little bit. We got Thoohipina. I wanted to reverse that a little bit, just to make it easier for me so I don't have to keep saying my PC. But now we're going to define their motivations. So the cool thing with this is just kind of something that's going to be a driving force for your PC. This is something that your storyteller will be able to interact with as well, but it helps kind of help drive your short-term and long-term goals, which we'll get into a little bit later. But it's just something that drives your PC and kind of pushes them forward throughout their adventures. Nice thing with it too, as you see, there are some optional rules the DM can employ to kind of bring this in with certain checks if they may be going into your motivation, kind of following your calling. You can roll into it and get decrease your or increase your success number by 1, or decrease your success number by 1, or if you're going against what your motivation is, just gives you a little bit of a carrot and stick that you can apply just to make sure that people are rolling their PC or role playing kind of how they've designed their PC and not trying to metagame too much. So that's cool. With our guy, with Thoohipina, we're going to go with honor. We're building a bit of a warrior PC. They've got a strict code of honor. They live by their warrior principles. They keep their word. They stick to it. They fight for those that fight for them. And that's kind of their creed. That's what we're going to put in for their motivation. So we're going to flip back to our character sheet here. And we're going to throw in honor as their motivation. So makes it easy on that side. So we've got honor going for them. And then we've done step 1. So easy step 1, which always makes life good. So we're going to go back into the PDF on that side now that we've chosen honor as one of our core guiding features. We're going to take a look at what the next step is. So we're going to pick Archetype. An archetype is kind of a rough mixture with this of kind of like your job, your background, your personality. So within the system, it could be kind of any mixture of those three. It's just kind of a baseline too, just so like they can go through this. But if you pick a warrior, that doesn't mean you have to be somebody that's out there soldiering or doing battle. It could just be that you have a warrior spirit. But the nice thing too with it as well, since this is based in the world of Coyote and Crow, and usually you're part of a tribe, and you do have kind of a key, defined role where your skill set should hopefully support. It gives you some cool ideas of what could be your key role within this position. So you could be, if you're a warrior, you could be a trail defender, going through and kind of make sure those travel routes are safe and defending people that may be in danger due to the hostile world that the system is set in. So the nice thing with your archetype too, this gives so motivation didn't give any stat bonuses. The archetype does. It's going to give you a +1 to strength, one of your ability scores, and we'll go into that a little bit later. It's also going to give you proficiency, or not proficiency, a rank and skill for your unarmed combat and melee weapon skills. And we're going to go into both of those a little bit later. But now that we've got our archetype and got our kind of role to our key role for our PC, we're going to go through and add in those to our little document just to make sure we're not forgetting anything. He's a warrior. And they don't give you the key role, but we're going to say trail finder or trail defender here. Sweet. Now that we've got that documented, we're just going to cut right back into the system and go to the next step. So we've got step 1 down, and remember, +1 strength, 1 free rank for unarmed as well as melee weapon combat. Now, for these ones, we're going to kind of go through 3 pretty easily, or pretty quickly, I should say. This is more kind of more kind of PC or character driven information. So this is your age, your tribe, your gender, any other labels that you'd want to put onto the PC. For tribe, well, we're going to skip that part. We're going to say he's 27. That's my favorite age. And we're going to say Thoohipina is a dude. So keep it easy. But we're not going to go throw those in. We may put them in a little later. But for sake of time, we're going to go on to the next path, or the next option, which is choose your path. So paths in this are a little different than I initially thought they'd be. So the path is kind of cool. So one of the things within the system, and they go over it quite in depth, is everybody has these gifts, or certain people within the tribe have these gifts, and sometimes they can come naturally to certain people. Other times the tribe can bestow them upon you, and they're called and I'm probably butcher this a little bit, so forgive me for it. But the Adinati, which is called, which translates roughly to the gift, and the gift kind of correlates along with different animals and some of their traits. And they have a cool flavor path in here that you can gives you some cool or different options you can do with it. Sometimes they say that when you get the Adinati of a certain animal, you take on some of their bestial traits. Other times they say that you just may be those animals may view you as a friend or view you as part of their own. And it gives you some cool options for going through and deciding how your player or your character interacts with them. But we're building a big, strong warrior, dude. So I'm going Path of the Bison with my guy, with Thoohipina. I want to make sure that they're kind of a good brawler type, good strength-based build. So we're going with that. And with these two, so you'll see the related stats with them as well. This does a couple of big things. The first thing with this, when we get into this in abilities as well, it's a 1 through 5 rank, or generally it's 1 through 5 that you can boost your strength or any of your abilities to. So 1 being the starting point, and 5 typically being your ending point. With your path though, you can go past that 5 cap. With our guy, we're going to do this too so you can see it. If you start with, so she gets strength and will, and we get a +1 strength from being a warrior too, and if you use those to go past the 5, you're going to be able to start with the 6, which gives you kind of a strong guy and gives you a little bit of notoriety or fame as well, too. And we'll touch on that as well. But the nice thing with this is I was wondering if this is going to be more of a class build or things like that. The path, outside of giving you those 2 starting stats, that's all it really affects. And also you get to pick an ability later, kind of part of your gift, your Adinati, and you have to pick it from one of your related stats. But outside of that and some of the flavor pieces, your path doesn't determine too much. So it kind of leaves it free and open-ended. I've really been enjoying classless systems lately with Mutants and Masterminds, with this system and others. So this just allows you to keep it fresh and keep everything in perspective. So it's not Path of the Adinati, Path of the Bison. We'll just throw 27 in there just to keep it fresh. Perfect. So we've got that in there. We've got our path chosen. We've got some other of the information in there, our name, our archetype. We're going to get into a little bit more of the meat of the system now. So we're going to go back to our steps for creating a character. So now that we've chosen our path, we're going to choose or kind of receive our starting character points. So you see we break it down by the gifts, burdens, stats, and skills. So we're going to go through each of these and determine what Thoohipina is going to be able to rock around with. So let's get into gifts and burdens. So gifts and burdens are pretty cool. So these are different things that you can do to give yourself a plus or a minus to your character, but it's also more of a kind of almost a flavor piece too. So these are things you can build in to connect with your backstory or connect with your character's motivations. So with a gift, and with each of these, they have 3 ranks, with them getting better for gifts. So rank 3 is the best. This gift's something that can be pretty influential and help you change the story. Rank 1, something minor. Where on the other side of burden, a rank 3 burden, so it's going to be kind of popping up or giving you a little bit of a detriment too. And for each of the ranks, it does cost a point for gifts, and it gives you back a point for burdens. For this, we're going to go through this little quick because I don't want to spend too much of our time here. But for our guy, we're going to say he's a rough, big warrior guy with a kind of a iron will, but he likes to compete. He likes to to perform and draw the attention of a crowd, a little bit of a wrestler. So we're going to give him a rival. So let me see. Oops, I scrolled a little too fast there. So you see one of them are allies and opponents. So you can give through and either make yourself a ally or somebody that's going to be coming after you. We're going to say we've got a level 3 opponent. He's another rough and tough tumble guy from his same tribe who likes to also compete in sports and wrestling, and they've always kind of gone at it and tried to bring up their own rep by pulling each other down. So that's going to be his gift or his burden on that side. And for the gift, we're going to scroll over to oops, I went too fast. So if you see, there we go. So one of them, and actually I won't even scroll to it, is you get fame and infamy. So with our guy, he's strong. And one of the things they recommend, if you do go past that 5 or to the 5 or past the 5, is to give them a gift for being famous. So he's going to be famous for his strength. He's going to be known throughout his tribe and even through other tribes, so that Herculean-like strength that he could bring to bear. So we're going to flip that back into our character sheet, and we're going to put that information in there just so we keep it fresh. So gift, fame, incredible strength, then burden, rival, level 3. And we should come up with a name for the rival, but we'll do that some other time. Sweet. So we've got those in there. We've got his gifts, his burdens, and let's do this. We did the fame at level 3. So we fame at level 2, burden rival at level 3. So let's go through this. Rival at level 3. Rival at level 2, fame at level 3. Messed up my notes there. So what that's going to do is give us -2 from the rival, and then a +3 from the strength. So we're going to spend 1 point total on our overall build for this. So with a nice thing with the gifts and burdens, for the other ones you have to spend them in their category, but for anything for gifts and burdens you don't spend, you can actually bring over into your other stats or skills and spend it there. With this though too, the rule is you have to have at minimum 0. So you can't go into negatives with this too. So keeps it easy, makes it simple. So we've got that in there. We're going to go back in now that we've got our gifts and burdens selected. We're going to go through and hit that next step, which is going to be spending for stats. So stats are cool. There's a lot of different options in this system. They do have a point buy style build too. And it's kind of broken out. There's 9 different stats, and they're broken out into 3 different categorizations, we'll say. So you've got the power stats, which are strength, intelligence, and spirit. And these are kind of based off of the different lines. So strength is your physical stat, mental intelligence, spirit for your spiritual. And they've got magic in this system and different things or powers you can utilize, I should say. And with your spirit, that governs the spiritual side of it, and the different stats kind of flow along that. You've got other different mental stats, others physical stats for just kind of the abilities. So it's kind of cool they break it out that way, and you get to see for some of our Derive Stats too, how those go into play. Also, with this, it's point buy, so you get point that tally for each, and you get to kind of assign them as you'd like. So I'm going to keep it easy on this one. I want you guys got to watch me do math, which could sometimes be a slow process. So I did the math ahead of time for this. So I'm going to throw in which stats we picked. So I wanted Thoohipina to be a rough and tough guy with a strong will and a little bit of a charismatic spirit too. So his big one, he's got strength of 6. He's stronger than kind of even some of the top tier athletes of the world, and we did that through a 4 in point buy. So we spent 10 points on that, or we spent some points on that. I forgot how many on that, but we 4 in point buy plus 1 from his archetype. That allows us to get to 5. And then, as I mentioned, the path allows you to go past 5, so that bumps us up to 6. So we start them off strong. And then we spend 3 points to give us agility plus 2, and 1 is free. So you start off at 1. You can't go below 1, and 1 is free. I wanted him to be very endurance and durable. Endurance kind of governs how you take strenuous tasks, how you take damage and all that. And I wanted him to be he's a rough and tough dude, so he's good on that side. Fortunately, he is not the smartest, so he took a free point there. It just kind of kept it on that side. So he's not book smart, but he is perceptive. It's got a little above average, about average perception on that side. He pays attention. Same with wisdom. He's not the most wise, but he keeps it evolved there. Spirit, on the other hand, he's more spiritual. He's in touch with himself. It's spirit with this too. It also kind of goes for it's like a how captivating you are as well. So it's not charisma where you're trying to bend somebody to your own devices, trying to convince somebody of something. Spirit's just kind of your natural presence within the area, and I want him to have a presence. And he's a little charming. It's not his best quality, but he does have a little bit of charm there. And Will is another one that we get a +1 from our path. And I also wanted him to have a good will, so I bought some good points on that side. So he has a +4 will. So, built out our stats there. There's more information on the stats too, and each of these stats govern a different feature. And we're gonna get into that a little bit too with skills. But just gives you some kind of a cool baseline and a little bit of a presence on how Thoohipina is doing. So let's go back to the book and see what our next step is. And that's going to be to build out our skills. And for skills on this one, we're going to do this pretty quick because I know this is going to be one that we can go into for a little bit, but I just want to show you how the skill system works. So this is another one. You get 42 points to build for skills. And with skills too, you see each of the ranks cost a point, or cost points, I should say. It's another point buy type situation. And you can go through and buy which points you want. And one of the things too with the system, if I can scroll one at a time, is that they've got two types of skills. So you've got general skills, which are just kind of the ones they've got listed out on this page. And then you've got specialized skills, which you can buy within the skill to be better at a certain type of thing. So for instance, unarmed combat, which is what we're going to buy for our guy. If you wanted to be good at unarmed combat, just say you, let's just use our example. So unarmed combat, let's say you wanted to have 3 ranks of unarmed combat. So that's going to give you a +6 there, or cost 6 points there. And let's say you wanted your guy to be a good wrestler, like we want our guy to do too. So we're going to buy a specialized skill for that. And the specialized skill is always 1 rank higher than the regular skill is. So since we started at a rank 3 for that, we're going to spend 6 points on the general skill, and then we're going to spend another 6 points to give him that specialized skill. So he'd have a 3 in unarmed combat and then a 4 within wrestling. But the cool thing with this too is you get to actually apply any bonuses you get from your archetype after you spend your points. So with our guy, since he got a +1 from his archetype for unarmed combat, that's going to bump him up to a 4 rank for unarmed combat and then a 5 rank for his wrestling. So we're going to put that in there, but I did want to do one more example just to kind of bring it home too. So the other one we're going to do is performance. So performance, we're going to give him 3 ranks in a performance, and then a +4 or rank 4 in storytelling. So that'd be the 6th, so another 6 and another 6. So 12 points total to give him that. So just give a good look on that side. The other thing too, so when you roll a skill, if you're not proficient in it, you have to, or you don't have ranks in it, I should say. You got that 5e talk sometimes always gets to me. If you're not proficient in that skill, you have to roll the worst of the 2 governing stats. So you'll see here that each of the skills has 2 governing stats. So if you've got let's start with art. If you've got a +2 spirit and then a 1 will, if you're not ranked in it, you would roll your 1 will for your dice pool when rolling your d12 and determining how that goes. If you are ranked in the stat, you get to choose, or ranked in the skill, you get to choose your best stat. So I want to give him a little bit of performance because I want him to, he's a strong man. He loves to draw in the crowd and he's got a good spirit too. So we're going to give him performance. And since we get to choose between that, he's got charisma, but he's got good spirit. So we're going to choose spirit as our governing stat for that. And then we're going to give him that +3 in performance and then +4 in storytelling as his specialized skill. So we've got built that out. Let's jump in and throw that into our character sheet. So we've got skills here. So what did I say? So we're doing unarmed combat. And where is that at? There we go. So we're going to give him 4 ranks. And then we're going to give him unarmed combat. And then, oh, there we put it right here. Duh. I started from the bottom just to keep it easy. So wrestling, and then that will give him rank 5, which should 11 dice pools. So we get to roll 11 dice when we roll that to see how many successes we can get for it. And remember, we're going to do a mechanics episode too. So I know we're going real light on the mechanics, but I wanted to show how that would work. And then performance, where is that at? So we're going to give him a 3 in performance. And then we're going to throw performance in our thingy. Storytelling. And we're going to give him a rank 4 for that. So he'll have 7 dice he can pull out using his performance skill. So we've gone over that a little bit. Now we're going to go back into the book and go to our next step on building out Thoohipina. So we've got our stats, we've got our skills, we've got gifts and burdens chosen. What we're going to do next is we're actually going to skip the equipment side. Equipment you can kind of go through, and this is a little bit more up to your storyteller and kind of what you can do and kind of what you start with. But they say kind of allow you to start with what's reasonable. So we'd give our guy a war axe if we were going into that. But we're going to kind of skip past that for today and go to derived stats. So derived stats are kind of where your different defenses, initiative, and all of that, they all have kind of a build-up of your different stats and how they're picked on that side. And that's actually, we skipped one. We got to go back to abilities. We'll go back to that one, but let's hit derived stats first. So you see, there's different things that coordinate with those derived stats. So your initiative score is a mixture of your agility, perception, and charisma. You've got defense values for your physical, mental, and mystical defenses, kind of aligning with those body, spiritual, and mental lines that we saw earlier. You've also got your different HP, or I would say these are kind of your HP pools, because your body represents the different things, physical damage that you can take. So like a knife wound does damage to body. Mind is how much you can exert yourself. There's a mechanic called focus that you use to spend your mind points. And we're going to go that into the mechanics episode. And then you've got spiritual, or soul, sorry. That is just different mystic attacks will attack your soul for mystical damage, but there's also a mechanic called fortitude that you can spend your soul points on. Each of these two, if you go to 0 of these points, you're knocked unconscious, and each of them has a different death component too. So for body, for instance, if you go to negative of your negative in body of amount equal to your endurance. So let's say for our guy, for Thoohipina, if he goes to -4 body, he's dead. And each of them have that different drop dead stat. So let's go in and we'll throw in ours. And this is another one I did the math behind the scenes, so you guys don't have to watch me struggle with that. And we're going to throw in our derived stats. So let's see which ones first. So initiative, ability. So our initiative score is 6, and initiative has a cool function in this, which we're going to get there eventually. So stay tuned for the mechanics episode. We'll dive into that. So we've got a 6, and initiative was our perception, agility, and charisma added together. For our physical defense, we've got a 6 in there. That is agility plus endurance. Remember, our guy was real endurance focused. For mental defense, we've got a 4. He's not the brightest, and that is perception plus wisdom. For spiritual defense, spiritual defense, he has a 6. So it's charisma plus wisdom. Or sorry, charisma plus will. Now for body points, he's a real big buff dude, and this is his strength, agility, and endurance. He's got a 12, rocking that there. For mind, so this is not his strength. This is intelligence plus perception plus wisdom. He's only getting a 5 there. Soul, he's a pretty good background for spiritual and will. So he gets a 9. So it's a spirit plus will plus charisma. And since he is rocking at full stats right now, we'll fill in the rest of this too. So he's got a 12, 5, and a 9 for these. So we've got our derived stats, we've got our regular stats, but I skipped picking our abilities. So we're going to go back and pick our kind of our supernatural ability for Thoohipina. So let's dive into that portion of it. So with these, you get to pick different abilities. And as I mentioned before, the abilities are kind of your superhuman powers granted to you by the Adonai, your gift. But this is chosen by the path, or it's governed by the path you've chosen. So you get to pick one of your ability scores. So my guy had strength and will, and you get to choose a gift from one of those categories. You see they've got a list of them broken down there. So with our guy, strength is his governing factor. So we're going to choose the power of the bear. So it takes a secondary action to activate 1 point of soul. It's another way you can spend those soul points. And you're going to gain temporary strength when you activate it. So we're going to go into next episode the mechanics a little bit more. But with this guy, I wanted him to be strong. He's going to activate that power of a bear when he just really needs to turn it up to 10th gear. So we'll throw that in there. Power of the bear. And then perfect. So we've got that built in into our sheet on that side. And now we've kind of hit most of the big pieces. So let's go back to our little checklist on this side and kind of see what we've got in there. So we've got our motivation. We've got our archetype. We've got our age. Chosen a path. He's path of the bear, or he's path of the bison. Ability, power of the bear. We've allocated our ability points as well as some of our skills and our gifts and burdens. Now, we kind of skipped the starting equipment, but we've done our derived stats. And now, if this was for a regular campaign, I would write our background. We've already gone into a little bit, but he's a warrior who likes to defend his village, keeping the trails safe. But he also likes to compete. He's a wrestler by trade and loves to tell stories and enrapture the crowd with his tales and heroic feats that he's gone through. And that's just a little bit of Thoohipina. And we've got our character sheet, so you've seen we've went through and put in a lot of those core features. And if we were going to build this for the rest of a game, we'd go in and put in the rest of our abilities and skills and on this side. But we've got a good baseline for them so far. And that, I know, about 30 minutes so far, but it's not a hard process to do. This is a pretty simple system once you pick it up to be able to kind of go through and build in how your PC acts and kind of how the different governing stats for your crew. So we've got that in there, and I hope you enjoyed coming through and watching us do that. But this is the Coyote and Crow month, so stay tuned next week for the mechanics episode, and really join us May 31st as we play the system live with my characters' built-in PCs and run their official one-shot adventure, The Encounter at Station 54. And maybe you'll be one of the lucky ones. Maybe you'll be a little bit blessed and get to win a copy of the Coyote and Crow PDF that you can bring back to your table and have some fun with your crew. So if you're new to the channel, please drop a like, please subscribe. Every month we have a different system that we follow, as well as recaps or actual plays that we have for our different systems too. We played Karen last night, and that'll be on there a little bit later this week too. So join us, drop a like, subscribe. But thank you guys for coming through and building a PC with me, and hope to see y'all soon.